In this video, I'm revealing the top 10 best fat-burning foods that I give to all my nutrition clients that are scientifically proven to torch fat, especially around the belly and stomach. Losing that stubborn belly fat is no longer a mystery, and although exercise is important for fat loss, what you eat is way more important, which is why today I want to give you the top 10 foods that you need to eat that all but guarantee fat loss. Starting with number 10, blueberries. When compared to other foods, especially other fruit, blueberries are going to be relatively low in calories. We're talking around 80 calories for around 1 cup or 140 gram serving. They're going to be high in fiber, which is going to help with digestion and feeling more satisfied. Plus, they're going to be really high in antioxidants, as well as they're very versatile. You can add them to just about any food or meal anytime per day, and they work. Or you can just eat them on your own. Plus, you can buy frozen varieties that keep really well and you can always have on hand. For all those reasons, the blueberry is a fat loss MVP and they need to be on this list, especially for clients that are on low calories that need to hit their fruit and fiber requirements. Even the keto people accept blueberries as tolerable, so you know they must be okay. Moving on to number 9, celery. Now, if you've been helping people lose weight and fat, you've probably come across the concept of negative calorie foods, which means the energy it takes to eat, to digest, and process a food is greater than the amount of calories in the food itself. Now, this concept is debated, but the fact remains foods that are high in water and fiber, they help keep you full. And at around 14 calories per every cup, celery does a really good job of doing that. Now, the only reason that this isn't rated higher is because I'm not really sure that people enjoy eating celery on its own, especially when you compare it to other snackable vegetables like carrots, cucumbers, or peppers. But eating celery can be really helpful on a weight loss plan. And before we move on, I want to point out one thing about many of the foods on this list. One thing you might be noticing about these foods is their energy density. What makes a good fat loss food is a lot of volume or weight and not a lot of calories. And when you take the total amount of calories in a food or a meal and divide it by its weight, you get something called the energy density. And one thing that's common in a lot of successful weight loss approaches is prioritizing and eating a lot of low energy density foods, because you get to eat a lot more food with not a lot of calories. So you stay fuller and happier for longer, more satisfied, and it makes the diet easier to stick to. Now, not all the foods you need to eat need to be low energy density, but when you eat too many of high energy density foods, like nuts and white bread or nut butters or anything that's really processed, your calories just don't go as far. So you'll see that many of the foods on this list have a low energy density, which is ideal for hunger management. So let's keep moving on. At number 8, we have Greek yogurt. If you or your clients are looking to lose weight, specifically belly fat, you're gonna need to eat more protein. Eating more protein will help you stay fuller for longer while also sparing the muscle that you already have while you're on a diet and eating lower calories. But we wanna find some food options that are higher in protein and not a lot of fat or carbohydrate. And around 2007, Greek yogurt busted on the North American food scene as an alternative, a higher protein alternative to normal yogurt, and in my opinion, a much tastier alternative to cottage cheese. You can find Greek yogurt in lower fat plain variety, but also some that are sweetened with a bit of sugar. So watch out for that because it does add in additional calories. But in my experience, after working with thousands of successful weight loss clients, the ones that do really well have a lot of balance and variety in their diets. So adding in a dairy option to this list makes sense because it adds in an option that has more well-rounded nutrients and a more well-rounded nutrient profile. Speaking of variety, there are plenty of foods that people think that they just cannot eat while losing fat, and this next food would be a good example of that. Number 7 on our list is grapes. So as we talked about before, a lot of good fat loss foods are going to have not a lot of calories, but also have a lot of food weight. And grapes having around 110 calories per cup or around 200 grams of food is a good example of this. What I like the most about grapes is that they are full of water, which makes them hydrating, but they're also very portable. Before you ask me in the comments if you can just drink wine instead, the answer to that is yes. Just kidding. One thing I do want to make note of is that if you're creating a weight loss diet focusing on just restricting carbohydrates or any specific type of food, you're going to miss out on many foods like grapes that can actually help with weight loss. Since grapes contain a lot of water, they are very filling, which can support a client's fat loss goals. This process is not black or white. You can eat foods just like grapes and they will be helpful. They will support weight loss. But let's move back to the protein theme for a second. At number 6 on our list, we have chicken breast. So finding protein sources that are high in protein but don't contain a lot of calories from anything else is very helpful on a fat loss diet, which makes chicken breast, especially boneless and skinless chicken breast, a fat loss MVP. You can get 20 grams of protein for just 100 calories and around 1 to 2 grams of fat. With that in mind though, chicken breast does not need to be plain to be effective. It can be prepared in different ways, like pulled or grilled, with a variety of different spices, salt, and low-calorie condiments. Now here's what I want to tell you about fat loss foods. Every time you eat, it doesn't matter if it's chicken and broccoli or food from McDonald's, you have infinitely more calories than you need in that moment to survive, which means that your body automatically goes to burn that energy, which is usually from carbs, or it stores the rest of the calories, which means there's not a single food that allows you to burn fat or causes fat loss. It just doesn't work like that. Now, there are foods that will support weight loss or fat loss, making a diet easier to stick to, keeping you less hungry and making sure the weight is coming from the right places. So no individual foods help you burn fat, although some can support fat loss more than others. Let's talk more about those with number 5, protein powder. Almost 90% of my fat loss clients use protein powder. This isn't because I'm some big shill for the supplement companies, it's because protein powder can be really helpful and effective for fat loss. And although it's a processed food, which we generally want to avoid when on a diet, because generally processed foods aren't as filling and have more calories than their whole food counterparts, supplemental protein is different, and this is the big argument between what is right and what is helpful. If I lined up 20 grams of protein from chicken breast and 20 grams of protein from protein powder, the chicken breast is probably superior for a few reasons, namely the higher satiety and it has other health promoting nutrients. But the protein powder is just as low calorie, meaning it goes just as far on a diet, but it's much more accessible and easy to consume, as well as it tastes different and it tastes good. So when we factor all of that into the fact that in general, protein is tough for people to consume enough of, supplemental protein like protein powder can be really useful, and that's why I rank it high on this list. Now, it is smart to check labels and making sure that the protein powder that you're buying is mostly protein, with everything else filtered out, making isolates and casein some of the smartest choices you can buy, because you don't want to end up with some supplemental weight gainer that's going to get in the way of your goals. But let's get back to whole foods for a second with number 4 on our list, which is lettuce. I would go as far as saying iceberg and mixed greens and romaine and butterhead lettuce need to be included on every fat loss diet. They add color and variety, and most importantly, they have some of the lowest energy density of any food possible. Most greens supply 0.1 to 0.2 calories for every gram of food, so they go really far in filling you up, which means you can make very large kilogram weight salads without a lot of calories. But lettuce is also quite versatile. You can add shredded iceberg to burgers, sandwiches, and wraps. Now, one thing I do want to repeat about all these fat burning foods is that they don't actually burn fat. Anything that provides calories doesn't burn fat, because to burn fat, you need to be in an overall calorie deficit. And no individual foods do that, but foods like lettuce do make it easier to maintain that deficit. So they're helpful, just like this next food that you may think you can't eat and burn fat. Number 3, watermelon. As the name implies, watermelon is full of water, and when it comes to energy density, watermelon is the GOAT. And although it tastes sweet, you get a lot of food weight without a lot of calories, meaning it's helpful for fat loss. When comparing energy density, watermelon is higher density than lettuce, but it is less dense than grapes. But I also want to point out what makes conventional fat loss diets so difficult to maintain. It's because in general, especially with unsuccessful attempts, that the diet makes you give away all the things you enjoy eating or like. Things that taste good or things that you think you cannot have. But foods like watermelon are sweet and satisfying, and people enjoy eating them, which is why I suggest watermelon to a lot of my fat loss clients, because it fits into the plan and it can be helpful. As well as number 2, egg whites. Now, before all the carnivore diet people come after me, let me say on the record, there is nothing wrong with eating whole eggs. They are full of nutrients and healthy and can be included on all types of diets, especially fat loss diets. But when the priority is mainly losing fat, we got to think about protein sources that have a lot of protein and not a lot of calories. And egg whites, which contain only protein and nothing else, are a great way of doing this. For every 100 grams of egg whites, you get 10 grams of protein, around 50 calories, and not much of anything else. Plus, they're super versatile. They can be added to pancakes or oatmeal as the liquid for a protein boost, or in addition to whole eggs in omelets or scrambled eggs. And finally, the number 1 fat burning food I suggest to all my clients is number 1, zucchini. First off, super hard word to spell. That H comes out of nowhere. But when it comes to dieting and fat loss, zucchini has the low energy density of most vegetables, but can be prepared a million different ways. And unlike the cucumber, which is tasty but can't really be consumed cooked, the zucchini you can prepare in a bunch of different ways. Although I am gonna give the pickle, which is a close cousin to the cucumber, an honorable mention here because it is a fat loss MVP. But the zucchini here really shines. It could be added to stir fries. And when you shred it, you can add it to any dish and it takes on that flavor while adding a lot more volume. Or you can even turn it into a noodle using a spiralizer, and it's a really passable noodle. Now you can use other noodle alternatives like shirataki noodles, which are super low in calories, but in my opinion, just don't taste as good. Or bean-based noodles that are high in protein, but they also come with a lot of additional calories. Which is why, in my opinion, the zucchini is the best thing to add to a dish, in addition to a dish. For all those reasons, the zucchini is number 1 on our fat burning foods list. And that's it, folks. Those are the top 10 fat burning foods I get all my nutrition clients to eat. And if you're coming across my channel for the first time, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And as great as all those tips are, if you're really serious about starting a nutrition coaching business, the next thing I'll have you do is check out this video I've linked up right here. Here are the top 10 best plant-based sources of protein. So just make sure to check it out right here, and I'll see you in the next video.